Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another exciting Daily December. This is Daily December 2015, day 28. There's a 20 before that. If you guys want to know why I look so bad, check out not the one right before this, but the one before that. And I talk about the shit that's going on right now. Because of that, I'm trying to focus on things that I really enjoy, and just focus on trying to keep my mind out of the place that it's going. So for this one, I am going to talk about movies on Netflix that I've been watching, or I have watched, that I think are phenomenal that you may not have seen. In general, these are probably going to be almost entirely independent films. I love independent films, um, just because they're very unique and they're not quite as targeted. Like everything in a big blockbuster movie is put in there specifically to appeal to a certain demographic. The whole thing is very, very constructed to give off a certain feeling. Um, Independent movies, because a lot of times their purpose is not so much to make money as it is to say something or do something. They don't have that manufactured feel that a lot of big budget titles do. Um, they also don't make anywhere near as much money. So whether or not you agree with manufacturing the movies to sell, uh, the end result is the ones that are built specifically to sell a lot better, and people still enjoy the hell out of them. Just look at like Return of the Jedi. I just found this out. Um, they weren't going to let Lucas make Return of the Jedi unless he included something in there that would be more kid friendly, and something that they could make action figures out of, which is where Ewoks came from. So everyone that gets pissed off about Jar Jar because he was designed to add some comic relief and appeal to a different market, Ewoks were Jar Jar before Jar Jar. All right, so get off your high horse. Um, so the first movie I want to talk about because it's phenomenal. The movie itself is called Snowpiercer. Um, it actually has a relatively high production value. It is simply amazing. Chris Evans, which a lot of you guys will know because he's Captain America. Chris Evans plays the lead in it, and personally, I think it's probably the best role I've ever seen him in. The character he plays, there's actually a monologue towards the end of it that taps into an emotional well I didn't know Chris Evans had, and it's just beautifully done. The premise behind the movie is there's been an ice age. The only humans alive in the world all live on this train that circumnavigates the world. It never stops moving, and that's how they keep from freezing, um, by just living on this train. However, the train has a very strict caste system. The people on the back of the train live in abject poverty, and eat basically like reprocessed protein like gel things. You find out a lot more about that later on. But they eat horribly, and they they're just crammed into the back of this thing, while the people in the front eat things like sushi and fine foods, and they have plenty of room and things like that, and they live in the absolute highest levels of decadence that they can. So the whole movie is basically this kind of revolt where the people in the back try and get their lives better, and it's brilliant. It's amazing. Um, the movie itself, if you lived in the U.S. or really anywhere outside of, I think it was a Swedish movie. was where it was actually filmed. But the distributor had like an argument or something with the studio that made the movie, and because of it, the Snowpiercer actually had an international opening. Like it was shown all over the world. However, because the distributor got mad, basically, um, they only released it in enough theaters to um, uh, basically qualify for the contract that they signed. And so it had an extremely limited run in the U.S., which is one of the largest film markets. And so anyone in the U.S. and a lot of other places probably didn't even know this existed because they didn't market it at all. The distributions company refused to market it. It had a release in like I can't remember exact numbers. It was like a few hundred theaters across the country, and it ran for like a week, and that was it. And without any marketing or anything like that, it made next to nothing. So a lot of people were not even aware that this film existed, and then it came out a little over a year ago on DVD and Blu-ray and all that, and people started seeing it, and it's a brilliant movie. It's on Netflix, or at least it's on Netflix in the States. I have no idea if it's on anywhere. But if you can find it, again, it's called Snowpiercer. It has Chris Evans in it. You've got to see it. It's just great. The next movie, another one that's been out for about a year. This is actually a stand-up comedy special. If you don't watch a lot of stand-up comedy, you may not be familiar with it. But it's Gabriel Iglesias, and it's called The Fluffy Movie. And it's his most recent stand-up special, and it's brilliant. Gabriel Iglesias is one of my favorite comics. He was on Last Comic Standing forever ago, and he actually didn't even make it to the finals. I think he actually got disqualified for using a cell phone, so he got kicked off. Like he was in like 7th or 6th place. However, he's a brilliant comic. He does a lot of amazing stuff. He does a lot of voices and stuff like that. He's really funny. So yeah, it's called The Fluffy Movie. It's really, really good. It's got a lot of comedy in it. It actually has kind of a look into his personal life, and he goes into some stories about himself and his family and stuff like that. So it's really, really good. You should definitely check it out. What's the next one I wanted to talk about? I'm just doing movies. I'll have a different one that I do TV shows. The Road Within. The Road Within is, again, independent movie. It's about this kid, Vincent, who has Tourette's syndrome. His mother recently died, and he gets put into a facility to try and help him learn how to deal with his Tourette's and things like that. And while he's there, without revealing too much, he eventually decides to go on a road trip to help spread his mother's ashes. So on this road trip, he takes a guy with rather severe OCD and a girl with anorexia. They all go on this road trip together. And it's this really cool kind of coming-of-age story. Robert Sheehan plays Vincent. And I was actually introduced to Robert Sheehan through Misfits, which is a BBC television show about these kids that got these kind of ish superpowers from a lightning storm. And he was really, really good. I think he was only in the first 2 seasons, but he was brilliant in it. So he's really good in this. Dave Patel is in it. He plays the guy with OCD. And then Zoe Kravitz plays the girl with anorexia. Zoe Kravitz played Angel in X-Men First Class. What else did she do again? I can't remember. She had another thing that she just did. She was also in Mad Max Fury Road, sorry. And she played Christina in the Divergent series. So she's done a lot. Um, and so yeah, the whole movie is really really good. Um, uh, yeah, it's just I have a thing about movies with people with mental disabilities because I have one. I tend to identify with them really heavily, and I watch a lot of them. Everything from like Girl Interrupted. It's kind of a funny story. The Black Balloon. Trying to think of some of the other ones. I haven't seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest yet, but I really need to. Awakenings. Um, uh, I Am Sam. You know, like all of these. You know, What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I've watched all of these things and just love them to death. So yeah, that's The Road Within, and it's brilliant and wonderful. And then the last one I'm going to talk about, because this is getting a little bit long, is the movie is called Goon. Uh, I'm actually gonna I can't remember any of this stuff, so Goon. I have to actually look up the cast list real quick. Um, okay, so Goon is this really kind of cool. It's a hockey comedy style movie. It was written by Jay Baruchel, and Evan Goldberg. Jay, he was in this The Sorcerer's Apprentice. He's done a lot of things. He's a relatively famous Canadian actor. Um, so he wrote it, and he actually plays. Um, he plays the friend of the main character. The main character is played by Sean William Scott, and he plays an enforcer on a hockey team. Uh, he he, uh, he starts off the movie. He can't even really skate or anything like that, but he's a bouncer and he has a really thick skull and he's kind of stupid, and he loves hockey. He absolutely adores hockey, and so out of nowhere. Somebody, some hockey team kind of sees him and notices, or I can't even remember, what was it? Oh yeah, so what it was they were watching a hockey game, and one of there was a fight that broke out, and one of they start taunting the other team, and one of the players calls his friend a homosexual slur, and so Doug, which is Sean William Scott's character, Doug kind of stands up and goes, "My brother's gay," and just wails on this guy, completely destroys him. And so the coach of the hockey team, the home team that they were rooting for, uh, gives him a call afterwards and says, "Hey, do you want to play hockey?" And so he becomes an enforcer. And so the whole thing is kind of his growth as a player, and kind of the idea behind enforcers in hockey games and stuff like that. And it's really cool. Allison Pill's in it. Leah Shriver or Schreiber is in it. Um, it's a fun, cool movie. So all of these are on Netflix right now, at least in the U.S. they are. They're great movies. If you haven't seen them, please check them out. That's what I'm doing right now to try and keep myself sane and keep myself from going to the very, very dark place that I want to go right now. Um, so yeah, check them out. They're really, really awesome. Um, so yeah, that's all for this one. I will see you guys later today for at least one more of these where I talk about TV series that I've been watching a lot of. All right, so bye bye.